What do you think of a work environment where a lot of people send emails without taking care of how it looks, aesthetically and grammatically? In my department, sales, my bosses do that frequently. As a young professional, I find it difficult for me to learn good practices.
That's a good question. So I think it depends. I think if I was in a work environment where client-facing emails, like formal client-facing emails, formal communications, and that kind of stuff are not formatted well, then it could be bad. But I think it's just the formatting and the care to an email should reflect the level of importance in associated with the email. So whenever I write an email to, for example, if I'm writing an email to give an opinion to my project director that has 2 minutes tops to make a decision based on my email, I'm going to spend a lot of time on my end to make sure that that way I can use as little of their time as possible in my email. And that's why they have only so much time to dedicate to my thing. So I'm going to do everything in my power to not waste their time. And so that's what kind of maybe that's how you're feeling. You're in sales, you're trying to get these emails really formatted and help the other person make a really quick decision. And just because you spend a lot of time doesn't mean the email's long, right? But and so maybe that's what you're doing is you're spending more time to consolidate your emails, and that's what I do. I'll spend, depending on the email, I'll spend a bunch of time making sure that I'm being as concise and clear as possible. And if your bosses aren't doing it, that's probably because they just don't have the time for it, and maybe they're doing it on their phone, or it's maybe just not as important to them. And I understand that it's difficult for you to learn good practices, but consider consistently doing what you need to do to help them make their decisions. I mean, maybe your email is just so well formatted that they're able to give a quick yes no right back to you, and I feel like that's a point of success for you. So let's read what the comments have to say. This person said, I used to spend 10 minutes writing each email, making sure it sounded nice and professional. Now I just put together barely coherent bullet points and throw them into ChatGPT. Okay, whatever. With my direct team, I'm not going through the time and effort to ensure 100% accuracy. Yes, because whenever you're communicating with your direct team, they have the context, right? So you don't need to spell out everything to the extent that you might need to. So when I'm emailing my boss, my manager, it's kind of conversational, right? Back and forth with them. But if I'm doing something outside of my immediate realm, then that's where the formality and that kind of stuff comes into play. So it kind of just depends. It depends on the context. So sometimes I just don't have the time and I need to get a response out to somebody, and that works. And other times I need to make a formal email. So I'd say, as this person said, they probably started making them all grammatically correct and pretty. And after decades working there, they stopped caring. And if the higher ups don't care, then the rest follows. Blah blah blah. Okay, I don't say that that means that you necessarily don't want to stay too long in that job. What I would say is it just, again, what you're seeing is it depends, right? It depends on the context. And I assure you that if they're trying to help their boss make a decision very quickly with an email, it's formatted properly and they took the time to write it. It just it just kind of depends on the context. So I would not read into it too much. Seriously, I think that you're just in their realm of context. That is the group of people that doesn't get the super formatted email. But I can assure you that they know how to write an email. And if they don't, then well, then I'm wrong. All right.
Because I ain't chasing payments, still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.